explain that the committee does want this issue resolved. However, there was no agreement on how it should be resolved. So I am proposing this as a mechanism for resolving this particular issue, which the committee needs to resolve before it can get too much farther into it. And this has to do with our communications. Common Council members do not publicly disclose, publish, or distribute confidential information, including transmission of private emails or conversations in which their business is discussed unless authorized by the author or speaker, communication posted on the Common Council sponsored websites, or email reflectors unless authorized by the author, unless otherwise authorized by the council, and committee work, minutes, or reports not approved for release. So let me just explain.
You have a minute 30.
So the reason for asking for this is that the Ethics Committee needs to understand our policy. Matt Katz, I've communicated with both Matt Katz and Ellen Polly, both of them which have said that it's always been RIRA policy not to allow disclosure of private emails or of our internal email reflectors. It's not just our policy, it's the policy of the U.S. Congress. The deliberative process is not disclosed. You can't get it under the Freedom of Information. It's the policy of the New York State Legislature. They will not give you their internal communications under the Freedom of Information Act. We should have the same rights. And I say that because there's two things I want to say more. One is that this does not exclude people from discussing issues that started.
It knows what you're trying to propose and it doesn't like it.
It does not exclude people from disclosing issues that we were discussing, or even paraphrasing what people were saying. It is preventing verbatim transmission of what should be confidential emails and communications. And I say that because I'm for free speech. What do I mean by that? People like myself who are gainfully employed, and they seek another job. This is the Googling. People put what you say, and they can take a small snippet of what you say, make you look like you're making a terrible statement. And that is out there in the blogosphere. And because of that, I won't respond. I won't give my opinion. So I lose my freedom of speech if we adopt a policy that allows these transmissions to be made.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or motions, or sorry, any other further motions? Are there is there anyone else who wishes to speak on the matter? I'm sorry? There has not been a second. Okay, the motion has been seconded. So Aaron, I have Frank, I have Sherry. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, you each have 1 minute. Aaron?
I'm strongly opposed. Hello. I'm strongly opposed to this. We are an open organization. We represent the community. There are no secrets. If you write something, you are stand behind it. Okay? And I don't care if it gets out to the public. It should, in fact. If you want something in private, then you call someone, or you send an email to that person only. Not, when you have a list of 50, 40, or 50 people receiving your email, there's no way you can keep it confidential, and you shouldn't. This is an unnecessary move, and it's, in my view, contrary to the spirit of this organization.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Frank.
I echo all of Mr. Hamburger's points. I just want to bring it down to the people level. It's, in my building, we have very active tenancy. It would mean that things that are discussed, for example, in Island Services Committee, I could not take those emails and send them out to people in Island House because that's work product, okay? It means that some of the discussions and the ideas, there's nothing that says anything about verbatim here. There's nothing, it means that they can't be shared. And I think that basically people, when they discover when they come to our organization and join up in November and get elected and discover they can't say anything, they're going to be very disappointed because that's not what they expected. They expected to come and represent their building, their district, and so on, and to have a flow of information. I would also say that since it's impractical, it won't be enforced evenly, and I think that's an even bigger problem. I'd like to say one point on the Google thing, or whatever you call it, the age of Google.
You have 20 seconds.
Oh, we'll do 20. Okay. Basically, it doesn't matter. If you don't want something in public, then don't put it in writing. Okay? Think about what you put in writing. Because having this doesn't prevent it from getting out, and having someone anonymous post it, so it doesn't prevent it from getting out. What you should think about, before you hit the send key, how will that look in public? And
Point of information.
Thank you. Yes.
I would like to point out that the committee work minutes and reports part of this is already on the books. We had a motion in January of 2011. I actually have it somewhere with me if you really want me to read it. But in essence, it says that committee work minutes and reports cannot be released unless authorized. And therefore, that is really just restating an already existing policy. Just making sure you understand.
Please. Sherry?
I think that is different. I think that when you're talking about committee reports, those are the things that have to be approved by the council before they are actually released to the public. That's one thing. Any work that we're doing here. That's one thing. I understand what you're trying to do here. I think that Aaron actually expressed it. If you want to communicate with somebody, communicate with that person, or if it's 2 or 3 people that you're communicating with, and you make sure that everybody in that communication needs to know that right now this is private, this is what we're talking about. I think that we've seen what happens with old meetings going back and forth, that none of that, it's not probably going to all be kept private. Some people get added, other people get deleted, and some people, and you have to go all the way back and find out who added somebody that maybe other people didn't want in that conversation. And I think that that's just the danger of having mass email. I think that,
You have 10 seconds, Sherry.
I think that maybe you and Matthew didn't talk about this quite because he was actually, when he saw this, he didn't think this was a good idea.
Thank you. Are there any further comments? If you would like to speak, you are free to speak in the public witness speakers list.
Yes.
Thank you. You also have 1 minute.
So, Matt Gatzer's husband said that, Sherry's husband said that RIRA had the right to limit whether shared with the public. That's what he wrote. And he also wrote in the Wire that about a council member who had shared an email thread with the Wire, and it had been published.
Yes.
So my assertion is not that you can't do it, it's that you have to get the author's permission to do it. That's what we're talking about. It's not that you cannot share it. You want to share it, then you say, can I share it? I also know that the motion excludes, most people have been speaking as if private emails are protected. I don't think they are, and they're being shared, unfortunately, with the Wire and other publications as well. So remember that that's also in this motion, to exclude people from publishing private emails, which doesn't seem to be something that people understand innately. But I think all communications should be, the only communications that should be communicated are those where the author has agreed to communicate them. Otherwise, people just, and I know this because I've had correspondence with other members of the Common Council who said they will not comment for precisely the reason that I just cited, that they don't want to be misquoted or quoted out of context in the press.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on the matter? I have Janet, you have Dave. Excuse me, just 1 second. I have Janet, I have Dave, I have Helen, and then I go back to Sherry. Janet, you have 1 minute.
Now, I believe that what this refers to is the entirety of private emails and conversations. As for apprising our neighbors and our constituents and others, you can certainly paraphrase and summarize and talk about the general tenor or maybe even some specifics. But it's the verbatim disclosure and transfer intact of these emails and conversations. Am I understanding that correctly?
Thank you. Jade?
Just briefly, Mr. President, this matter has been around a long time, quite frankly, in terms of what we should and should not release and when we should release. And in fact, I was trained when I came on board that basically you didn't release anything until after the Common Council had approved whatever the matter of the issue or the report might be. Then it would be released. However, I haven't seen any active enforcement of this, I must admit, and it's very difficult. It's difficult to do this. So implementation and enforcement could be an issue. And what's the penalty if there is a breach? And item number 3, I just want to make clear, are we saying that committee work minutes or reports not approved for release? Does that mean those that the Common Council hasn't approved for release, or what does that item 3 mean, please?
I took it from the wording from the previous approval. Yes, I would assume it means the Common Council had to approve it, and what it means, because committees are open, I mean, let's face it, but the public who comes to the committee should understand that if the committee is drafting a letter or drafting a report, the draft report is not supposed to be released. There are parameters that are enforced. And I also, what I'm saying, I guess I shouldn't respond, but the Ethics Committee wants to formulate how to enforce it. That's why we need to know what the policy is. We can't enforce something if we don't understand the policy. So I'm trying to get us to reach a consensus on what the policy is. I think this should be the law.
Thank you. Helen? You have 1 minute.
Yeah, actually, I'm one of the most free speech people around here. Everybody knows that. I'm very passionate about it. But I think this will give us all a measure of protection. I was sort of victimized in a letter in the most recent Wire where snippets of it was not an email blast, it was an email to about 5 people. It was in the Public Safety Committee of last July. It was taken out of context and made to seem as if I'm some sort of wacko who doesn't like the riot board people, blah, blah, blah. This was somebody that we know. I'm not going to name him, but if you read the paper, you know who I'm talking about. And so I think any of us would be victimized the same way, and I will definitely vote, and I urge all of you to vote for this amendment.
Thank you. Sherry?
I have a question about, just for verbiage. When you say authorized by the author, at which point are we talking about the author? I mean, who is the author? I'm not asking this to be difficult. I'm just curious because somebody, if you email a group of people, let's say I email a group, and then somebody else, and then other people respond, and then somebody furthers that email. Who's the author?
So the question's been raised to the ethics chairs as to language concerning the reference to author, and item number 2. Mickey, would you like to respond?
If you shared a thread, you don't have all of the authors. If you just share one email, you just have to have that.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? I'm sorry, would you like to call the question, Aaron?
Love to call.
Is there a second to call the question?
Second.
All those in favor of calling the question? I'm sorry?
I was waiting for the table.
All right, so it's been motion, second, but...
No, it was not called. No, it's not. Someone made a request to call.